Shocking information on Retatrutide and Orforglipron, the next generation GLP-1 medications with Zepbound and Mounjaro. I'm so excited for today's episode. Okay, so we've got some new information, but first, I am Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've lost over 106 pounds. It's crazy to say that. The last 2 years of being on Mounjaro, Zepbound, and tirzepatide compound. The combination of those is because of the shortages. And on today's episode, there was a new interview that was released from Eli Lilly Chief Scientific Officer, Dan Skowronski. My last name is Skordinsky, and so like he's a fellow ski brother. I'm like, oh my God, it's freaking me out. His last name is so close to mine. Dan Skowronski, and is going in this interview, which I'll link in the description link below, as is all my sources on today's video. In this whole interview talking all about Retatrutide, Orforglipron, and it's these next generation of GLP-1 medications, but there's some new nuances to it. I've done some stories already on Retatrutide. You can see those linked in the description link below, or excuse me, on my playlist. But all of the sources I'm talking about will be in the description link below. Just click that more button. But if you want to see more of like the scientific data of Retatrutide, it's on those videos too. But Dan went into it because Dan and I are now on a first name basis. Dan in this interview went further into talking about Retatrutide, and it has in there the triple, it's triple. It has GLP-1, GIP-1, and the glucagon. And we do not see glucagon in tirzepatide. So this is so on Zepbound or Mounjaro. So that right there is giving some different nuances with Retatrutide. Now, one of the questions for Dan was improving on tirzepatide. It's extremely different. Well, he was saying about how tirzepatide in different clinical trials is showing different clinical results, meaning for Zepbound and Mounjaro, that they've seen different results with different trials, 22% weight loss, but up to 26 to 27% weight loss with Zepbound and Mounjaro for the tirzepatide compound, or not compound, it's not compound, it's tirzepatide. And so talking about Retatrutide, it may be 5% above, and it's reasonable to say 25% weight loss or higher is what Dan said, quote. And it was from this article. And so then Dan went into talking about, do most people in the marketplace need higher than like a Zepbound 15 milligrams or Mounjaro 15 milligrams? And if you are like me, I am on the highest possible dose and have been now for the last year. I've total been on GLP-1 medication for 2 years. But for Zepbound 15 milligrams and Mounjaro 15 milligrams, those are the same thing, by the way, just 2 different FDA approvals. They're both made by Eli Lilly. And so do most people need a higher dose? And Dan said, no, not really, but there is a segment of the population that does need stronger medication and has a stronger medical need. I am one of those. I am one of those. And if you saw my other video talking about the 60-week marker, so whether you're on WEGOVY or Ozempic, it's still very similar to hitting that 60-week wall of where most people are showing when they hit the 60 weeks, so 14 months, that there is not that the medication's not working, but definitely if you haven't hit your weight loss goals by that point, like for me, it's been a little bit more challenging. I still have technically, in this picture, I still technically have, I'm still technically considered overweight. I'm about 16, 17, 18 pounds away from a healthy, quote, healthy weight or normal weight, although there's no such thing as normal, that's a dishwasher setting, but being considered like a healthy BMI. And we know BMI is not the best marker either for it. But nonetheless, talking about stronger medication needs like Retatrutide, that there is a percent of the population who needs that higher medication with it. And so Dan went into talking about there's the medical need of it, but then the commercial need of it, is it going to be as boisterous as Zepbound and Mounjaro in the marketplace commercially? Because it's, I mean, these are, like, we haven't seen this type of level of life-changing things since like penicillin or other drugs akin to that. And so that's why this is so fascinating, is that it is next level. And for me, I need that next level, and I'm very, very excited about it. But having in there, Dan was saying about Retatrutide is about late 2025. It's in phase 3. That in late 2025, there's going to be more information on Retatrutide, like the data component of it. So that was that, like that right there, I was like, yes, like just hearing and being validated that there's a medical need for higher dose. That's me. And if you were like me, I know there's so many of you guys out there. I jokingly call myself a turtle. Like I'm just slower, but really I joke about it, but really there's a lot of turtles out there. To know how many thousands and thousands of turtles are in my free encouragement group, which I will link down below in the description, it makes my heart happy to know that I'm not alone. I'm not alone on this. And talking about it. Dan then went into talking about pill format in relation, which is the Orforglipron. It's also in clinical trial. And talking about the pill format of it, of ease of use of pill, and one of the reasons why ease of use of the pill format, Orforglipron, is no food or water restrictions. And we see with Zepbound and Mounjaro that there are side effects that come with food. And for me, for sure, one of the major reasons why I started to take LMNT electrolytes, and I'm going to deep dive into Orforglipron too, but one of the reasons I started to take LMNT electrolytes was because of side effects. When I first started my weight loss journey 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago now, I bought LMNT electrolytes because an influencer who I really love was like, they're the best in the marketplace. And I've tested several, and they've been the best in the marketplace for me with helping with side effects. And so it's interesting to me for the Orforglipron component that side effects, it's less. They're talking about there's having the ease of use of pill of not having food or water restrictions with Orforglipron. With Zepbound, Mounjaro, and even my WEGOVY and Ozempic brothers and sisters, for me, taking electrolytes have been so helpful with having, not to be crass, but massive diarrhea, needing something to go back in to replenish that. And because we know there's diarrhea, constipation, nausea, and vomiting, having something also like an electrolyte, LMNT electrolytes to help with that. Also on there as well, having constipation, because there's magnesium, potassium, and sodium in there, helping with the magnesium component with constipation. I don't have that issue. I don't have that issue. And so what I typically do on a given day for me with my Zepbound 15 milligrams routine is I will have a whole stick, but over the course of a day, I'll do a third, and I'll mix with 40-ounce tumbler water with that. My favorite. I'm like, what's it called? Hyperfixated on the orange is my favorite flavor. But they do also have the cans, which I'm really pumped. I'm going to go pick up my boy later on, typically in my car. I'll have a can. I typically have either the can or the packet in a given day, but I love the cans. Now my 7-year-old or my 9-year-old, the Duke, he is obsessed with the watermelon flavor, absolutely loves it. And he gets severe leg cramps. I give my son LMNT electrolytes. We love it so much in our household. The Count lifts, he absolutely loves it. His favorite is the citrus lime packets. My favorite, I'm hyper obsessed with now, is orange, but it used to be the raspberry salt. But I love LMNT electrolytes because it helps with those side effects. And so talking about the Orforglipron, about how not having side effect issues, it's one of the benefits of the daily pill and the ease of use with that. But LMNT electrolytes has been very generous. You can go to drinkelement.com/queen, QUEEN, to get 8 free sticks with any purchase. I'm obsessed with them. It's been so beneficial on my GLP-1 journey, and I highly, highly recommend it. Now, after 2 years of taking LMNT electrolytes and still continuing to take, I continue to take it because now I lift weights. And so taking this with weight training has also been equally as beneficial. And I like having some before. It's not a pre-workout because there's no caffeine in it, but I do find it helps me lift better having some LMNT electrolytes prior to lifting, and then a little bit after too. I have a little after as well, depending on the day. So with Orforglipron, it has in there, and Eli Lilly, Dan was talking about the chief lead scientific officer for Eli Lilly, the 9 obesity, it was chief scientific officer, 9 obesity drugs Eli Lilly is testing in clinical trials. 9. Who's excited about that? I know I am. I'm like, 9 GLP-1 drugs is amazing. Obesity drugs. So going to Orforglipron, the more potent of these is Retatrutide, and that's injection. Orforglipron is pill format. It's going to be less potent. But going back to what Dan said about more than 1 billion people could benefit from taking GLP-1 medication that's in pill format because it doesn't have the refrigeration component issue that we see with Zepbound and Mounjaro. And then for our Eli Lilly brothers and sisters, there's not that refrigeration component. And that's what makes Orforglipron super powerful. So much so, in a separate article, which again, I'll cite my source and link it down in the description link below, Reuters had an article talking about Eli Lilly bets big on weight loss pill with a 500 150 million inventory stockpile. So it's going on. Eli Lilly's talking about the late stage trial of a pre-launch inventory. It was on their financial statements here at the end of February talking about this. The move is unusual, and it comes more than a year before the drug, the Orforglipron, is expected to be launched. More than $500 million in this stockpile for Orforglipron, which tells me they're banking big on this because it can be opened up to so many areas of the world that don't have to worry about refrigeration. We know right now the US is chirping and burping. We are chirping and burping over here in the USA with GLP-1 medications. And seeing on countessofshopping.com, your one-stop shop for all things GLP-1 medication for news sources and like everything under the sun associated lifestyle with GLP-1 medication. On my website, I can see there's so many people throughout, it's international, truly. And here on YouTube, of course, obviously. But seeing how many international people are coming to countessofshopping.com and on YouTube, that it's opening up a whole new world for people because of the refrigeration element, that you're going to eliminate that problem. Which is why Dan said in the interview that they suspect 1 billion people will benefit from the Orforglipron or pill or obesity pill format of it, which is also why they have this massive stockpile that they're doing pre-launch inventory build. And so the launch is not coming until 2026. Earlier than normal inventory build is certainly much larger than normal, said Kevin Gade, the chief operating officer at Ball and Gaynor, which owns Lilly shares. This reflects Eli Lilly to be on the front foot by launching the drug as early as possible to build the time advantage in the market for tackling future competition. Because we know there's other people who are trying to do pill format too, including Novo Nordisk. There is already a pill on the marketplace, by the way, for GLP-1 medication. People were asking this in my group. I'm not diving into that today, but it's not as high as data as any of this. It's WEGOVY, Ozempic, Zepbound, or Mounjaro, to give context on that. So studying the pill format, it also has an experimental drug, and I'm going to butcher this, but I talked about it previously. It was the amycretin, while others, including AstraZeneca, are developing oral obesity treatments. And then there's another one that Evercore ISI analyst, his name is Umir, highlighted the inventory build in the research note on Thursday, said so-called capitalized inventory implied $10 billion in sales based on 2024 figures. So meaning for people in the US, but my international brothers and sisters tuning in as well, this is so exciting about Orforglipron with the pill format of that taking off the issue of refrigeration, taking off the issue of potential side effects with having no food or water restrictions. Like, this is major. And so it talked about in there getting approved potentially in early 2026 for the once-a-day pill. Phase 3 of the clinical trials, we're showing 14.7% weight reduction. So going back over to the component where Dan said about tirzepatide with Zepbound and Mounjaro, they showed around 22% weight loss in clinical trials versus 14.7%. But Zepbound and Mounjaro also said in other ones there was 27% weight reduction, depending on this. There's different clinical trial studies on there. So Orforglipron, 14.7% weight loss after 36 weeks for people who are obese and overweight. And then so the late stage data will be by April. I said mid 2025. I've had to film this video. This is the 4th time now because of my sweet dogs kept coming in. So forgive me if I didn't say that earlier. It's actually April 2025 of more information of the late stage data on that too. So this is fast. To me, just the stockpile alone, I do think going back to what Umar said, who the financial analyst, talking about that being a $10 million sales, like that's crazy. And for my boos out there who did get stock back 2 years ago when I started talking about Eli Lilly, I kicked myself. You guys know I'm big into investments. I kicked myself that I didn't buy then. I literally kicked myself. I'm like, why did I not buy? Like looking at the stock, my 10-year-old, the Duke, he's very into stocks and investing. And so we're talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, with this upcoming one, I mean, that just, if you're a shareholder, it's fascinating. So going back over to this, talking about the drug component of it, is benefits for the drug. Do we see with Orforglipron, and Dan was saying in the interview, the 5 X or 10X of people who are already on GLP-1 like to what it is now to 5 or 10X that, which my brain can't comprehend. Going back over to the example of how life-changing penicillin was and how like life-changing like antibiotics are, or things like the polio vaccine, like life-changing things, life-changing. How beneficial GLP-1 medication is for the obesity community and for health and wellness in general, because we're seeing, and this was the other part of it too that Dan talked about as well. Let me go back over to that interview component. Was talking about how we're seeing other things like Zepbound is FDA approved, not only for obesity management, but for sleep apnea. And then also we're going to see related to heart disease and strokes, and there's testing for Alzheimer's, and there's testing for cancer, and there's a ton of other diseases that GLP-1 medications are also looking into having help with too. Which is so exciting. Like, this is what a great time to be alive. Like, I always get so jazzed with these interviews of the potential of how much our health has changed. And I know for me, let me go back over here, has changed and continues to change. I'm not sure, is this the video? Yeah, this is me lifting. This, I mean, like, that blows my mind. This was me before, and this is me now, lifting weights. Like, not possible without GLP-1 medication to be able to lift, and how much that's helping my cells and my bones and like all of the other byproducts that happen when you're not obese, or morbid, in my case, morbidly obese, which is amazing. Now, one of the things I was gonna say, like, that's me now. I'm like, who is this person going from severely morbidly obese to that now? It's crazy. Like, that's so crazy to me. Here's my before again. Like, that's crazy what GLP-1 medication can do. And then add on for retatrutide, the glycagon part, that we don't have that piece with Zepbound. That's where I'm like, you mean it's better than Zepbound? Because Zepbound truly, and Mounjaro, how much they've changed my life with the food noise component and the appetite suppression, and gosh, what a difference it makes. And hearing from people who have been off of Zepbound or had to get off Zepbound or get off WEGOVY for the medications for one reason or another, and how 70% of people do gain the weight back. There's that 30% don't. And I have lots of people in my free encouragement group, and here on YouTube too, by the way. There's many of you who are still watching who are not on GLP-1 medication. And I love you for it, by the way. I absolutely love you for it, because all are welcome here at the Countess of Shopping table. But it's fascinating to me that adding that glycagon component into it, so that was the point that I was trying to make, that we don't even have that yet. And how exciting that is. There is an awesome viewer. She is in the clinical trials for retatrutide, which she tells me in the comments, and you guys, it's public. I mean, she's publicly sharing it about how fantastic her results are. And there's another gentleman who's also on retatrutide, his results as well from being in the clinical trials, how exceptional it is. Now, there are on the market, and I've debated this before about people, there's unscrupulous companies talking about retatrutide. You can buy retatrutide. Okay, you can, like how tirzepatide is the active ingredient for Zepbound and Mounjaro. You can get that in a compound format. You can right now get retatrutide, it's the active ingredient in retatrutide from Eli Lilly, but people are making it, unscrupulous companies are making it seem like they're selling that. That is from right now, that's the active ingredient in it with the triple, the GLP-1, GIP-1, and the glycagon. People are selling that. Be careful of those. And I know, and I'm sure Eli Lilly is so litigious, I'm sure they are all over that. I've seen them everywhere. And I know you guys have too, because we've talked about it. It is not the one that is the king poobah is Eli Lilly. It's still in testing, which to me, if it's still in clinical trials, right? I mean, it says on all, and I did a whole other video on that about how dangerous those are. So be mindful, be very, very mindful. If you see a company selling retatrutide, what I am referring to is from the manufacturer, Eli Lilly. It is still in clinical trials. It still will not be out on the marketplace until 2026, probably not 2025, more so 2026, even with the earlier data announcement. Still actively on the marketplace, won't be there till 2026, just FYI on that. That was an update from one of my previous videos that I discussed. Keeping that in mind, that if you see that being advertised, danger, danger, warning, warning. They even say, and I did a whole other video on this, not from the manufacturer Eli Lilly, not from the manufacturer. They have warning signs like this. Here's what they look like. about how they're for informational, educational purposes only, and that like bodily introduction of any kind into humans and animals is strictly forbidden by law. Then why are they selling it? And I have people in my free encouragement group, and you're not allowed to post about this because it's not gone through clinical trials. That is not Eli Lilly. So just, I had to throw that in there too as part of this as well. Like if you're seeing it being sold, it's not sold yet. Eli Lilly is not selling that until 2026 probably, because it's still in clinical trials. It's still going through with all of this data. It's still going through all of the trials with it. So, but it is exciting. It is exciting, but we got to be mindful of unscrupulous people out there. And that's one of the things where I'm like, danger, danger, warning, warning. If you're seeing that being sold, it's not sold yet. It is not. And that they have those warnings on there of like, don't inject it to animals. I'm like, you don't inject it to animals and people. Why would you put that in your body? That's why I'm waiting with bated breath for Eli Lilly to have theirs come out with Retatrutide. And same thing for the Orforglipron. For me, the oral pill, the daily oral pill, will not be something I need more. But I know for many of you who eventually will go on maintenance or are on maintenance or in general just don't need that high of a dose, that would be so much better for you. Not having to worry about refrigeration, side effects. It says, Dan said in there, no food or water restrictions. And it's less potent, but still doing its job with a 14.7% weight reduction after 36 weeks in clinical trials. That's exciting. That's exciting. And then you don't have to worry about an injection either. Because I know some people, and Dan talked about this in the interview too, are just very adverse to doing an injection. I get it. I get it. I get it, which is why pill format is why they're saying that it could be 1 billion people would benefit from oral medication for GLP-1 medication. What a great time to be alive. I mean, are you guys not so motivated? I know I am. I'm like, thank you, Dan. He's Skoronsky. I'm Skordinsky. So very, he spells it S-K-Y and I'm S-K-I. So we are different skis, but still nonetheless. I'm like, are you Ukrainian as well? I'm not Ukrainian at all. My husband's 100% Ukrainian. So anyways, I digress. Fascinating. The development of the pills. Oh, that was the other thing, is that Eli Lilly's focused in development of pills for future GLP-1 medication and more potent drugs. That's where Eli Lilly's putting their money in. Clearly, $500 million, $550 million in stockpile. That for me says it all. Says it all. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. It definitely was for me. I was very motivated. I'm like, oh, Dan, tell me more. So, and again, I'll link those down in the description link below. I will also link down below the very generous discount from Element Electrolytes. I can do videos like these because of Element Electrolytes. So I love when you support my sponsors. I would not tell you about sponsored information unless out of integrity, because I am a woman of integrity. I sleep just fine at nighttime because I know that I talk about products I absolutely love. If you were my bestie in real life, I'd be like, go to drinkelement.com/queen, Queen. My dad, for example, I'm like, Dad, go order some. Like if I'm telling my dad, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's for me, I would not be sharing these products unless I absolutely love them and they've helped me so much. And so hopefully they will help you. As always, talk to your own healthcare provider about taking any sort of supplements though. Our question of the day, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Tell me down in the description link below. And our emoji of the day is going to be, I'm like, Dan, how can I make an emoji out of Dan's amazing interview? We're going to do a star. So whatever star you want, I do emojis of the day if you're new. They tell me that you've made it this far in the video so I can get to know you better because I care, and it's just an easy, quick way to do it. The byproduct of that is I will also pray over you. If you don't believe in prayer, I'll uplift you in positive thought. But I'm super, super stoked. Retatrutide, Orforglipron, like this is great information. And share this video with anybody if you've got people who are skeptical of GLP-1 medication or are on GLP-1 medication, knowing the next levels that you could potentially, if you're on a GLP-1 medication also right now, maybe you're going to be like me. As soon as I can get Retatrutide and my healthcare provider gives me their blessing, I will go on. And then also, if you are looking for maintenance or somebody who is like, the refrigeration component or injections, knowing that there's a pill coming out, it still, again, has to go through clinical trials. Both of these do. But it's exciting. Exciting. Okay, my sweet friends. And all of my free resources are linked down in the description link below. So share this video, make sure you click like, and if you've not subscribed, what are you doing? Make sure you click subscribe. I know that more than 50% of you that watch my videos are not subscribed. I'm like, click that subscribe button so you'll see more content here on YouTube. My sweet friends, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I love you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.